Hey guys, welcome back to Cinema 3. Today we'll be talking about Solo, a Star Wars story, directed by Ron Howard and starring Alden Ehrenreich, Emilia Clarke, Paul Bettany, and some other people. Guys, can you help me out
Woody
here?
Harrelson.
Donald Glover.
He was in the movie.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
There you go. Bridget, what was Solo about?
It's about a ragtag team of misfits. God, I hate that so much. It's young Han Solo and Childish Gambino is in it.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
He comes into the film and he's like, "This is America," and then just leaves.
He shoots Han Solo in the back
He
of the head.
just shoots Han Solo, yeah, and then he leaves.
Overall, would we recommend Solo, a Star Wars story?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
I would.
Yeah.
I liked it better than Rogue One.
Yeah, so did I.
And
Same here.
you know, to a certain extent, I liked it better than 8.
The Last Jedi.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than I thought it was gonna be. So I would recommend it.
I thought it was a lot better than I was anticipating. I didn't think it was going to be that good. And yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised by it. I had a really good time. And I also agree as well, like to some extent I did like it better than The Last Jedi just because I had a better time with it. I know that might seem like a bit shallow or whatever, but like I had more fun with Solo than I had with The Last Jedi. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes all you need is just a movie that's like fun and doesn't make you question all the things you love like The Last Jedi does. Although like I'm not going to start talking about The Last Jedi. Look, I like Solo. It's good. I recommend it.
Okay. I like Solo. I don't really like Solo. It's got that classic Star Wars feel to it.
Definitely.
I can only say it was good, but not great. I did think it was going to be sort of like money-grabbing trash. But, you know, it turned out that it actually
was money grabbing good stuff.
I definitely think it's better than Rogue One, but I feel like it's got some flaws in some areas that prevent it from being, you know, as good as it could have been.
It's definitely a classic Star Wars movie though. Like you've got spaceships, you've got the weird aliens singing in the bar, you've got funny droids, like it's stock standard.
Honestly, it's
Star Wars.
So yeah, Rogue One sort of kicked off the standalone Star Wars movies. Rogue One was based off a short sentence in the opening crawl of A New Hope, and this movie Solo features the Kessel Run, which is like a little thing that's mentioned in A New Hope as well. So really, I'm just so excited that every line of dialogue in A New Hope is going to get a movie made out of it eventually.
My personal favorite will be when Darth Vader goes, "What?" If that's Darth Vader, what? A Star Wars story.
I thought Alden Ehrenreich was good as Han Solo. I think he's different to Harrison Ford's Han Solo. I almost see them as two separate characters in a way, but I think for this movie he worked as Han Solo. He's got all the mannerisms that Harrison Ford has, but he somehow also manages to pull it off without feeling like a direct impression.
No, but I liked him as Han as well. Like at first I was kind of skeptical, but then like I realized about 20 minutes in, I was like, no, I like him. I think he's good. Like he has that like Harrison Ford, I hate the word, but swagger. He has that that sort of like charisma that he has. I think he did a really good job. And like you were saying as well, it never felt like a direct impression. It never felt gimmicky in a way. It just felt like a different take on an already known character. I think he did a really good job, especially because I heard all those things about like those rumors about him needing acting lessons, and I was thinking, oh God, I really hope they didn't pick him just because he kind of has the same smirk.
But also the trailers for this movie aren't that great either. You know, they don't really do a great job at presenting him or the movie.
The only thing I liked about the trailer was the music in it, actually. But
Yeah,
that never showed up once again.
Yeah, I was disappointed that they didn't have the music in it.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that they didn't have that in the final thing, even like as the outro credits or something. But yeah, that was a bit disappointing.
Well, give us your theme.
The theme I would have gone was, "I'm feeling like a star. I can't stop my shine, I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky, I'm solo, yeah I'm solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, solo." And then, you know, then the movie just ends there.
fantastic.
Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, he works in this movie, but the Han from the original trilogy and him feel like they're completely different in a way. And I know they leave this, you know, on sequel bait, essentially, open for potential films to come in and show more of how Han gets from where he is now to episode 4.
Haven't they confirmed that they're going to do sequels for
They
Solo?
haven't
I think
confirmed,
it's
but he's been signed on, like he's got a
for
contract
future
so he
movies.
can.
Yeah. But yeah, Han in the original trilogy is way more cynical and kind of makes Ehrenreich feel completely different because his interpretation of the character, it feels a bit more naive and optimistic, and you never get the full sense that he's made that full transition from the Han in this movie to the Han we know and love.
That's very true.
You know?
Yeah, and Jack Howard is a YouTuber, and he did a really good short video on this, just like talking about, did we really need a Solo movie? And he sort of argued that the fact that they don't show him going from I have a good feeling about this to I have a bad feeling about this, and like showing that whole transition and everything kind of proves that we didn't need this movie. And I feel like in a way like that's like people's biggest gripe with it, is like that we didn't actually need it, like it was unnecessary. And that's kind of where it feels like it's money grabbing.
Exactly. That's where it feels like Disney's trying to, you know, branch out like the MCU and sort of make all these spin-off movies and hopefully create some sort of monopoly out of Star Wars, essentially.
Yeah, and capitalize on all those nostalgic sort of, you know, connections that you have with these characters that you know and love. And I understand that concern, like where people feel like it's a bit exploitative, but honestly, like I really think at the end of the day they just left it so they could do sequels.
Exactly.
But who knows if they will, considering, I mean, like, it's not a box office flop, but if you look at it in comparison to the other Star Wars films, like Kyle, you were showing me, yeah, it did not perform as well as they thought it would.
All the Disney-related Star Wars films, at the moment, they've all made, like, over $1 billion in the box office.
Mm-hmm.
I know this film hasn't been out considerably long, but their budget was $250 million, right? Which is pretty standard for all of these Disney Star Wars films now. Their current box office has actually gone up a tad. They've made their budget back, but only just. Their box office now is $264.2 million.
Just some context. The Force Awakens made $2 billion US. Rogue One made $1 billion, and Last Jedi made $1.3 billion. So when you have a look at that, and then you look at Solo, it's like relatively, it's a massive flop. But then like, you know, like any other director would be like crying with happiness over making like, you know, that many millions of dollars and everything. But yeah, when you're talking like
Star Wars,
yeah, like Star Wars money, it's not a lot.
It's sort of fascinating, but it's history too, because this is like the first Star Wars movie that has flopped. Like think about that. Like when has a Star Wars movie like not made its money back?
Also, if you look at the context in which this film has come out, it's been, you know, less than 6 months after we've had The Last Jedi. And then, you know, that was quite a divisive film as well, like for Star Wars fans, because, I mean, understandably so, because it's like more contemplative in a way. It's like asking us to question like why we like Star Wars and the things that we like about it, and, you know, and like letting go of the past. Whereas The Force Awakens was like one big nostalgia bait. So, you know, it's sort of taking the franchise in a whole different direction. And then so to have something come out like so soon after that, which is like, no, hang on, wait, we still want to capitalize on this nostalgia though. Like we still want you to love this thing. Like don't get me wrong. I feel like you combine all that and you can see why it didn't make its prospected money.
I mean, they are pumping out like a Star Wars movie like every 6 months or like every year now. So like the whole nostalgia or the whole like bringing you back to an old but very famous,
that's all like going away
franchise.
now.
Yeah, it's all like it's becoming the new norm. So you don't feel like, oh my god, a new Star Wars. You don't feel that rush of excitement when a new Star Wars film is announced anymore.
Yeah, that feeling is slowly gonna, if it hasn't already, it's slowly going to fade away.
Yeah, when I was like waiting for this movie to start, I had zero excitement, and like reflecting back on that, that's kind of sad. Like I want to be excited about a Star Wars movie.
Probably my favorite thing about the film is Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's not a hard pass. Like he really made Solo for me, right? If he wasn't in it, I don't think I would have enjoyed it nearly as much.
Him as Lando is perfect casting.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
so good in the movie.
He's got the mannerisms down, he's got the voices down, he's got the personalities on point. So like he's like the perfect young version of Lando.
His voice sounds just like Billy D. Williams. It's not hard to put him and the character from the original trilogy together, like it is for you to put the Han from this movie and the Han from the original trilogy together. What about you, Bridget? Anything else specifically that you liked about Solo?
Yes, I liked how Solo did a really good job of making you like the unlikable characters. Everyone's betraying everyone left, right, and center, but you still kind of like everyone anyway, because you get why they're doing it. It's the difference, again, between, like, yeah, Rogue One. Like, if you compare Cassian and Beckett, I still don't even know who Cassian is, whereas, like, you know, not very far in, I'm like, I understand who Beckett is, and I like him, which is important.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that this movie has compared to Rogue One, is that all the characters in this movie, they all have personalities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they all sort of stand out from one another. I couldn't tell anyone apart in Rogue One. They were all just boring cannon fodder, really.
Ouch.
It has, like, going back to the classic Star Wars feel that we were talking about before, I feel like this movie really brings back one of the things that we love about Star Wars movies, and that's the banter between, you know, really likable characters with strong personalities.
Yeah, like Chewie
You know?
and Solo. I mean, even to this day, no one will ever know what Chewie's saying, but like, you know, there's like a comedic sense behind it.
Yeah, well, like, think about the original trilogy, right? Like, most of what works about those movies are the interactions between the characters and how fun it is to see them, like, bouncing off one another, you know? I really liked the action scenes. They were really well done, especially, like, the cinematography. They had a really good use of using a dynamic camera. You know, there's that one shot where, you know, they're all firing and they're all going back into the Millennium Falcon, and it's sort of following them from the outside and then goes back in. It worked really well, and especially like in a lot of the action scenes, it would sort of follow him scuttling around the floor, dodging from one bit of cover to the next and everything. And
Yeah, I thought the choreography and the cinematography for all the fight scenes like worked together really well and made a really good finished product.
I think it's those little aspects that make, well, at least the Star Wars stories better than just trying to fill it with like references and odes to like other Star Wars films. Like a single shot going from outside the Millennium Falcon to inside is like, you know, it's new. It hasn't been done before.
Going off of that point as well, I don't think this movie is just fan service. Like, sure, it's definitely like firing off those things in your brain that go like, ooh, that thing I know from my childhood, memories, nostalgia, and everything. Like, it's gonna do that because it's a Star Wars movie. But I felt like a lot of the moments were earned of their own accord. You know, I feel like the movie set up and built up enough that I was able to believe it when they wanted the emotional payoff. Like, I was there for it. I was following them. Like, I understood what they were trying to do, and I liked it.
I do agree that it's less fan servicey than something like Rogue One, which is like, you know, every 5 minutes it's trying to like shove New Hope references down your throat. Yeah, ultimately it wasn't as fan servicey, but there is the one moment in the film which I think we should just talk about now anyway, which was the Darth Maul reveal at the end.
Yo, brother, you gotta say spoilers before
This
that,
whole
dog.
thing is a spoiler.
The whole thing is a spoiler.
People know
talk.
that, like...
But you still gotta say it.
What did you guys think about Darth Maul popping up at the end of this movie, like revealing himself that he's the boss that qi'ra has been working for?
I was confused.
I was mad. Yeah, I was
confused because I was like, for a
Like-
second, I thought, I was like, wait, hang on a minute, he's alive? What did that happen in? Was that in, like, the TV show? I was like, is that in the Clone Wars, or is that in, like...
Yeah, it is in Clone Wars and Rebels.
When he was revealed at the end that he's the boss that qi'ra has been working for, I was like, oh my god, wow, like, this character, holy shit. You know, like I was actually, it sort of excited me, and I was like, oh wow, I want to see where this goes now. But then I thought more about it, and I felt like that it feels like it's intentionally there to, you know, stimulate the YouTube comment sections and like have people talking
Right.
about the movie. Like it feels like it's just there primarily for fan service, which sort of made me a little
Yeah.
bit less enthused about it. And I sort of was like, oh, okay, well, maybe they'll have him in the Solo sequels or whatever future Solo Star Wars movies.
I mean, I knew it was inevitable that they were going to bring Darth Maul sometime into the Star Wars movie, but I was mad that it was this one. I was really excited, but that level of excitement was overwhelmed by my level of madness.
Wow, really?
Because of all the movies, they decided to chuck him in this one.
It definitely feels like he's been just chucked in here then.
Yeah, I mean, like, it would make more sense for him to appear in, like, say, the Obi-Wan story, or, like, even if they made a Star Wars story just based on him.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, man, something just took me out of the moment. I mean, I'm keen to see where they go with it, but I was just like, this is not the right time.
Yeah. It sort of leans into what I was saying before, is that it definitely feels like something to stimulate conversation, or like just have people talking about like even just anything about the movie. I thought Emilia Clarke and Alden Ehrenreich had really good chemistry in the film. I thought the relationship was fun, but I think ultimately it was just serviceable. It was just sort of there. I did like how the film felt like it was playing with a mix of genres. Like the beginning especially, it feels like sort of like a 1950s greaser movie with like the rebellious kids like running away together. And then there's, you know, some film noir in there with qi'ra's character, and then a lot of, you know, Western iconography.
It was also a heist movie as well.
Yeah, it has a bit of like a heist movie vibe as well, eh? I also thought the CGI in this movie is like really well done. If you look at this movie and compare to other summer blockbuster movies and look at the CG in that, it's really extraordinary. Like, it's so polished. Obviously not all of it is great. Some of it does look better than others. For most parts throughout the film, I was never like, oh, that's CGI.
Yeah.
You know, like all the practical effects, which I'm so glad that they still do, by the way, really melded it well with the CG. It just worked.
I think the only time I was like, oh, that's CG was like some parts in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I never thought once like, oh, that's CG. Because, like, you know, a lot of Marvel movies I find, I'm like, you know, that's clearly CG.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of the stuff with the Millennium Falcon, like when you know that CG, it looks like, oh, that looks real. You know, like it looks like they're actually flying.
Yeah.
Also, I really actually liked Paul Bettany's performance as the antagonist, Dryden Voss.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the best villain in a Star Wars movie or whatever, but he's like charismatic and he's intimidating at the same time. And I think ultimately, even though his character isn't really given much to do throughout the film, it's Paul Bettany's performance that sort of elevates that for me.
I liked his performance, but I didn't like his character. Because, like, you know, it just felt like the standard, oh, bad guy hates everything for no reason. Yar. And yeah, I just didn't like feel. I was like, okay.
Well, I feel as a character, he exists as like a plot device almost.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He's the person that they have to get the thing for.
I don't think they were trying to make him the best Star Wars villain ever, because like reasonably they just didn't have the time to do that. And also they didn't need to make him that. They just needed to make him enough of a threat that we know that he's being serious, so there are some stakes involved. Kyle, I know you disagree with me here because we've talked about this before, but I think that, especially at the beginning, the romance was a bit cheesy for me.
Which part?
Made me gag a little bit at the beginning.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I thought a lot of the dialogue in the film was a bit cheesy, especially towards the end where a lot of it came from qi'ra, funnily enough.
Yeah, see, I don't know if it's Emilia Clarke or if it's the lines that they gave her. I can't tell. I feel like she did a good job overall because, like, the whole time you're trying to figure out who she is and everything, and you don't ever like fully know until the end, and you realize she's actually only loyal to herself. But like there was something so like stilted about the way that she performed it.
Yeah, I don't know. I found, like, especially towards the end with her line where it's like, you've always, you know, when I think about our time, like, it always makes me smile. And I'm like, who wrote this? This is awful.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that were a bit cheesy and fucking dumb, how Han Solo got his name.
That's what I was gonna say.
Solo, because he's Solo. Wow.
He goes to enlist with the Academy, and then he's like, oh, I guess we'll call you Han Solo because you're Solo, you know? Like,
and the credits roll.
Like, oh my god. It feels like it was taken from a really shitty fan fiction and just like plopped into the scripts because they're like, we gotta figure out how he got his name. Like, why can't his name just be Solo?
Yeah.
Who thought this was a good idea?
I didn't like the classic, you know, good guy I've been with the movie the whole time is actually bad guy with Woody.
Yeah, well,
Harrelson.
that's the thing. The whole movie, you know, it felt a bit predictable in a way. Like, there were a couple of surprises here and there throughout the story, which were like, oh, you know, like the Darth Maul bit was like, oh,
Yeah, that was a surprise.
But it's probably the Han Solo origin movie you were expecting. Here's the thing too, is that I feel like the whole thing when Beckett says, don't trust anyone, you know, because then you'll never be disappointed. It's like, okay, that could have made maybe not a great arc for Han Solo in this movie, but, you know, just at least an arc he would have. Because I feel like he starts the movie and then he finishes pretty much the same way he began.
Yeah, you feel like
You know?
he hasn't like taken on his experiences, and that's what would have been really
Yeah.
exciting to see.
It could have been interesting because Alden Ehrenreich's Han Solo is so different, and just have a movie to show like the transition between Han being, you know, this really like naive kid who becomes like this hardened swindler and everything, but like the movie doesn't give him a clear arc.
That's because they're setting it up for sequels.
Yeah, but there's no character development in this movie,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
kind of annoying.
it is. Yeah, like I understand that gripe that people have with the movie about how he doesn't have any development and he doesn't have an arc, because like we've seen before, you can have an arc in an individual movie and also have an arc like overall. If they wanted to have sequels, like you can have an arc with that too.
Yeah, like you can have individual movies that individually have arcs within them. So it's almost like, you know, each movie he's learning something new in a way. Like he's learning to be the Han Solo that we know and love.
Yeah.
So guys, final thoughts on Solo. Bridget?
Right, so yeah, I really liked it. I thought all the performances were pretty good. I liked all the characters. I felt like they worked very well together, meshed well together. Definitely a standout performance from Donald Glover, but I just love Donald Glover, so biased. I would give it 4 out of 5 kilos of coaxium.
All right. Tagore, what about you? What would you give it, Tagore?
Probably 3.5 Haas out of 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3.5
Haas.
out of 5 as well.
So stupid.
So glad we took this job! Like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, solo. Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight. Finally feeling free and it feels so right.